Hi, I'm Tonya McConnell, the host of That's My Story. Today, I will be talking to Mike Gorman. He is the founding director of the York Regional H.O.G chapter. He is involved with an incredible group of people. Mike has great stories about bike rides, their charity events, and meeting celebrities along the way. So thank you, Mike, for joining me. It's a pleasure seeing you again. You must be super excited as bike season is just around the corner.
Well, it's, as you know, the last couple of years has been a little rough on everybody for COVID. I'm sporting a COVID cut here, and I think I almost got you beat, Tonya, in length. But anyways, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having us, and we're looking forward to a bigger and brighter season coming up.
Excellent. So, Mike, I'm very curious, at what age did you just know it was in you to ride a bike?
Well, as a teenager, growing up at a cottage in Keswick, we used to borrow bikes from friends and bomb around the little streets. And then it came time to get married and raise a family. And so had a little bit of a bug in me, but a neighbor when I was 26 years old with 4 kids and a wife and running the baseball games and hockey games and everything, a neighbor got himself a bike and put the bug in me. So I was 26 when I bought my first bike and got my license.
So we're just talking about how the bike season is about to start. Any advice to people that are going to start riding again, how to get started or what they should be doing at this point of the season?
Aside from making sure that your bike has got all the right tire pressures and lights working and all the rest of that and oil changes, you got to get ready as an individual. I think you haven't been on your bike for a number of months. I always believe that riders make better drivers because they're forced to be defensive, but they lose some of it over the winter time, I think. And you just got to be aware that you got to keep your eyes shifting at all times and just get slow into riding again and take your time.
Right. And what about the cleanup on the roads? I hear about not maybe going out until the roads are clean.
Well, I never do. I like to wait for a good rain to come and wash the sand and salt, and especially in neighborhoods, the main roads, because of the amount of traffic, it gets kicked to the side. But going into corners and hitting a bit of sand or salt is not nice. You can go down pretty quick. So you just got to be cautious of that. But most of the people I know, they don't start riding until that good rain has come and washed it all aside.
Wash it away. So when I hear the word chapter, do people think gang or what do they think when they hear the word chapter?
Well, the story I've always heard is H.O.G stands for Harley Owners Group, but it could have easily been Harley's Owner Gang. And Harley Davidson purposely called it a group to distinguish it from the gangs. And I don't think too many people, I think nowadays, and maybe I'm a little biased because I've been involved for so many years, but I think nowadays there's so many different motorcycle charity runs and different things and run-of-the-mill people that are riding, lots of women riders now. I don't think it has the same, it's not associated with gangs quite so much. And you can usually tell, right, by the way they're dressed, right?
Yeah. So, Mike, your chapter is very involved with charities, different events. I'd like to talk about, first of all, the Christmas in June and Teddy Bear Run. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Sure, by all means. It's probably our most well-attended event of the year. We get a lot of people out for it. It's been going since day one of the chapter that started back in 1999. We've had it every year. We've had good years and bad years because of the weather, but you're familiar with Christmas in June at the Port of Aurelia. I've always been a big believer that if you want a good event, try to latch on to one that's already in place, a county fair or what have you, an air show. And I've always been a boater. I like boating as well as riding, and you need good weather to do both, I guess. And So anyways, I came up with this idea. Let's go to the Port of Aurelia and we'll collect toys. We originally collected toys, and over the years it got changed to teddy bears. So we collect them in June, and then in September we take a delivery ride, and the charity of choice for the last number of years has been the Cedar Center, formerly known as YRAP, or York Region Abuse Program. We collect them and we deliver. We have a delivery ride to the Cedar Center, and Cedarvale Lodge up in Keswick has been nice enough with the seniors up there. They put on a great barbecue for us. So after our delivery to Cedar Center in Newmarket, we ride up to Keswick and enjoy a fabulous lunch and give the seniors an opportunity to get their pictures by the bikes and talk to the bikers. And it's just a fun day all around. It's a good event.
Excellent. Mike, you're also very involved with Ride for Sight. Can you tell me exactly what does Ride for Sight do and what does it mean to you as a person?
The Ride for Sight has been going since, I believe, 1981. I first joined in 1984, and it's raising funds for not blindness like CNIB, sorry, but retinitis pigmentosa is a degenerative eye disorder that most people eventually go blind from. It's tunnel vision, for lack of a better explanation. And so motorcyclists got together back in, a guy by the name of Jim Bentley had a friend. They were out riding one day, and it was getting dark and he couldn't see. So they had to put some bikes out in front and bikes in behind them. And so he could follow the taillights and the headlights, and they ushered him home. Well, that group decided to get together and start a little ride and raise some funds. They did some research and found out about the charity, and they started it. And of course, the first year was so-so, but next year it took off, and it is today, and has been for probably 30 years or plus, the largest one-day event, although it's 3 days, but the charity aspect of it, largest one-day event for eye research in the world. They collect millions and millions of dollars, and it's all across Canada. It's just a great event.
Incredible. So when we first started talking a few minutes ago, we were talking about encouraging women to ride. More women than ever are riding motorcycles, as you know. What can you tell me, or what kind of advice could you give a woman if she was about to start or wanted to learn how to ride a bike?
Well, I'm glad you said wanted to learn. That's number one. They've really got to want, or anybody, a man or a woman. I believe they really have to want it. They can't be talked into it. It's got to come from within. And you know, and sometimes that takes a number of years. My wife, for example, rode on the back for a number of years and used to say, you know what, I think I'd like to do that one day. And in those days, I think we might have had one. Oh, yes, we did. A friend of ours, one rider, female rider. The rest were all men, and we had a membership of about 150. And, you know, she says, I think I might want to do that one day. And so I just kind of logged that in the back of my head. And she said it again. And so one winter, without her knowing, I managed to buy a used 250 Rebel, Honda Rebel, and stuck it in the garage, and without her knowing, and took her out and said, there you go, when you're ready. Oh, I can't do that. And I said, okay, well, sit on it, get comfortable through the winter. And if you don't want to do it, then we'll just sell it. We'll get our money back, and that'll be the end of it. And of course, when I'd go to work every day, she'd go out in the garage and sit on it and get comfortable. And that led to a little bit of riding around the neighborhood and developed into the street. And, you know, a motorcycle course, of course, that's paramount, you know, get through a motorcycle course. And today she does, and for the last 20 years, 25 years, she's been riding the biggest Harley you can, the Ultra Classic, and ridden all across the States with me and all across Canada, and ridden in Europe, in England. She's from England. And so we took some riding in Scotland and the northern England where she's from, and it's great, but you really got to want to do it. I've heard too many stories of women that get talked into it, and they end up with a minor or, God forbid, a major accident. And I've heard of major accidents where there's been death involved, and they would simply just too nervous. It wasn't for them. And hey, not everybody's an artist, not everybody's a downhill skier, and do what you like, and make sure you really want to do it.
Right. So it's also about the size of the bike, making sure it's not too big for an individual, right?
And that goes for men and women alike. Start off small and grow into what you think your dream bike is. You may find out that what you've got is perfect for you, right? The one bike that I usually suggest for people to start off with, number one, low center of gravity. So Honda Shadow, a 750 or 500 Honda Shadow, is always proven to be a perfect bike for it, because everybody wants Harley, not everybody, but lots of people want a Harley, and they get all excited and they look at them and they see how big they are. Oh, there's a Sportster, I'll get a Sportster, and I've that's good for some people, but you got to be tall. It's not a low center of gravity bike, right? Some people may grow into a Sportster, they're great bikes, but I usually find them a little top heavy to start with, and that when it's low to the ground, low center of gravity, you don't have to fight with it, pulling on the handlebars when you're just walking it around. It makes a big difference, I think, that your comfort level, that you can control it. You're the one in charge, not the bike. And with a Sportster or any other tall bike, and they're not really tall, they're just top heavy. That doesn't always happen, right? You're muscling it all the time, and you're hurting your neck and your shoulders. And, you want to be comfortable on a motorcycle, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And I too took that course as well. And it is true. It's important to feel confident when you are riding. And also it tells you a little bit about if you are in an emergency situation, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So when we come back, you've been quoted as the human map. So when we get back, I can't wait to ask you, what does that mean?
Well, we'll give it a shot.
We're talking with Mike Gorman. He's the founding director of the York Regional H.O.G chapter. Welcome back, Mike. So you've been quoted as being called the human map. Please explain that to me.
Well, I got a good memory for roads, I guess, but with all the traveling my wife and I have done, I know GPSs have their place with a lot of people, and people depend on them, and that's great for them. But for myself, I just feel that if I have somebody telling me all the time where I'm going, I'm not going to remember. I like to, when I planned out trips in the past, I used to do all my maps for every day, for a month-long trip in advance. And usually by day 3 or 4, you're talking to a local, and he says, "Oh, you got to go up this road. This is a great road." And as soon as you go off the track, your maps are all out the window. So I don't do that anymore. I take paper maps with me. I know where I want to go the next day, and I plot it out the night before, and I just do day by day. And it served me well, because I remember, and I can help people, give them tips along the way. So GPS is great for a lot, but just not for me.
So Mike, you are the GPS.
Well, some people say that stands for Gorman, not Garmin, the G in the GPS, but I don't know about that. But we had a lot of fun, and half the fun about riding a motorcycle is getting lost and finding new roads, right? I love doing that. And a lot of people, when they're on a trip, they want the security of knowing which roads to take. And I like the adventure of finding new roads. So that's what I do.
There you go. So your chapter is also very involved with a run called Forever Young Run. Wow. Are you able
Correct.
to explain a little bit about that one for me?
Sure, sure. We've been really fortunate that a lot of the chapter members over the years, um, probably out of our group of 250 to 300 riders, probably 30 to 40 of them have been from the chapter. And a lot of that is because they're tired of me advertising it all the time. They just want to shut me up, I guess. But no, we have fun. We have great support. We haven't, it's pretty much done. We did it for over 20 years, and we found with aging motorcyclists, myself included, it grew. It used to be starting off from City Hall in Toronto. It was the only ride that was police escorted through the streets of downtown Toronto, right up Yonge Street. They would shut down the street for us and we'd ride up Yonge Street from City Hall in Toronto all the way up to Huntsville. And a lot of the participants were the business community. They've got partners or fellow workers that take a day off to go golfing midweek. We took a day off midweek to go riding, and it was always held on a Thursday, and we'd stay overnight up in Huntsville, have a big dinner, a live band party, and a live auction. And very fortunate with the amount of money we've been able to raise with that over the years. It's that and Ride for Sight. And it was an advertisement. That's how it got started. It was an advertisement for the Ride for Sight to get the business community involved with the Ride for Sight. But typically they didn't like field parties, so we put on a white tablecloth affair for them at a luxurious resort. And it was a lot of fun. And it grew into tours across America and Canada, 2-week tours where we would take 80, 90 people away for a couple of weeks and show them a part of the world that they may never see on the motorcycle. So very successful, and people really enjoyed it. At least that's the feedback I've gotten.
Must have been a lot of organizing to be taking 80, 90 bikes on a huge trip like that.
Yeah, it can get challenging, but you organize the truck. We had all the hotels planned out. My wife, Marlene, was great at picking hotels. I was the map plotter and she was the hotel finder, and she came up with some fabulous resorts. We stood on the corner in Winslow, Arizona, and there was a great hotel there. Red Cliff Lodge in Moab, another fabulous hotel. We were at the only beach hotel in Monterey, California. We had a beach party with a band playing. It was great. She was great at finding great hotels, and I tried to make the roads interesting. So it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun organizing. It didn't feel like work. And once we got there, the work was done, and we just enjoyed ourselves like everybody else.
Excellent. And Mike, rumor has it over the last couple of years, you've met some celebrities along the way. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, we've had some fun on the road. One of our favorite trips, and we've been on a lot. It was hard. You asked me what my favorite trip was, and it's hard to pick one, but one would have been to the Hamptons on Long Island. We took a group of about 35 people there, and I had found out that Billy Joel has a really unique collection of motorcycles. So in advance, I'd gotten in touch with the right people and found out about where it was, and he'd actually taken an old garage where he grew up in his hometown where he grew up, and took an old garage and converted it and renovated it. And he's had, probably 100 motorcycles in there that all look from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And every single one of them was a 2000 and up motorcycle. It was phenomenal time. And we just had a great time on that trip. Billy was supposed to be there to meet us, to greet us. His right-hand guy that looks after his machines was there. But unfortunately, Clarence Clemens from the E Street Band, the saxophone player, had passed away a couple of days earlier, and that was his funeral, the day of his funeral. So Billy, gave his regrets that he couldn't be there, and we'll just have to go back and do it again when Billy is there. So he loves his bikes, and I know he loves talking about them. So another, we've met Randy Bachman from Bachman Turner Overdrive. That was a hoot. I actually knew in advance that I was going to get a chance to meet him. So I was prepared, and I had 50 cents, 2 quarters in my pocket. And after meeting and chatting with him for a few minutes, I gave him the 50 cents, and he said, "What's this for?" And I said, "In 1969, you're in high school in Newmarket. The Guess Who were performing, and me and 3 other buddies stuck in the back door, and I've had this on my shoulders all this time, this guilt. So here's your payment." He kind of jiggled it and laughed, and he said, "What about your 3 buddies?" I said, "You're going to have to see them about that." He's a great guy. Actually, he had agreed to, if his schedule worked out, to come up to Forever Young Run and perform for us if his schedule worked out. And we would have loved to have seen that, because he's a fabulous performer. Just him and a guitar, right? Just talk about his life in general. And a wonderful man. And unfortunately, the schedules, when we were running, he was on tour or what have you. And that was back in, I think, 2008. And that's when the economy went in the tank. And so we took a pause from Forever Young Run that year, because people just weren't able to do anything, of much of anything. And so we didn't lean on them during those tough times. And anyways, when we got back at it, the schedule just didn't work out. So, but we also had the opportunity to meet Paul McCartney while I was working on a project, and where through a lot of persistence and aggravating his head of security, we managed to get in and see him at the ACC for a private viewing for about, I don't know, 7-8 minutes. And I couldn't kiss my wife for 3 months afterwards, because he had kissed her on the lips. She said, "I'm not watching my lips." Just a super down, and all these people, and there's been a number of others that we've met over the years. They've all super down to earth individuals. They're just normal folk, and they appreciate when you don't get all excited and you just talk to them that way. And they're just one of the guys or one of the girls, right? And just a real good experience to have met them.
And I also think a group of your members also met Meatloaf. Is that correct?
Yes. We have Carol Stewart is a huge Meatloaf fan, and he's got a tattoo on his back of "Bat Out of Hell" album cover. I think that's what it is. And when Meatloaf, God rest his soul, thankfully, he got to meet him in Toronto. There was a big Harley kickoff, or something to do with Harley Davidson. And they brought, it was the play. The Bat Out of Hell play was opening up in Toronto. That's what it was. And the H.O.G chapter had arranged to go down and, do a little presentation of bikes and everything else, because Meatloaf was into that kind of thing. And he ended up getting to meet him. So that was kind of exciting for him. That was great. And I'm sure a lot of our members, the thing about riding a motorcycle, I have found one of the guys out of Wild Hogs, not one of the main stars, but the guy that punched William H. Macy in the face when he came out of the diner. We met him in New Orleans on a trip, and we just pulled into the hotel, and he happened to be outside having a smoke or something. And he came over, he rides, and he came over and immediately started talking to us. And that's one thing we find with, you meet all kinds of strangers, when you're at a gas station or in a restaurant or whatever, and they know that you're bikers, they just drawn to you. They want to know about it. I guess they got an adventurous mind, and they want to hear more about it, right? So you meet all kinds of great people on the road. Some famous, some not. They're all super people.
So we have a few minutes left. I just wanted to ask you about, your chapter takes an adventure tour. Can you tell me a little bit about your adventure tours?
Sure. That's another ride that's been going. It's been well attended, always sold out every year. That's been going, I think since the 3rd year of the chapter back in the early 2000s. And I convinced everybody, because I had been doing it with 4 buddies, a mystery trip every year. And let's go away for 3 days, and nobody's going to know where we're going until we get there. And we'll have all kinds of surprises. And they kind of looked at me like I had 2 heads. And once I got them, thinking about how much fun it is, like when you played hide and go seek when you were a kid, This is something different. And so every year, somebody different usually organizes, where we're going, activities when we're there. And literally nobody knows where we're going until we get there. And sometimes you stay at one resort for 2 nights, and other times you're on the move and you do a couple of, and we've been everywhere. Usually it's in Ontario. If we go into the States, because it's only a 3-day trip, we go to Michigan or upstate New York or Erie or Pennsylvania. We don't venture too far, go into Quebec. We've had a few into Quebec, and there's lots to see and do out there, some right in our backyard, but within a 2-day trip or 3-day trip, 2 nights, you can go a fair number of places and learn a lot and have a lot of fun.
Excellent. So we're going to wrap it up. How would somebody contact you for more information, Mike?
Well, they can contact the chapter by going to the website, which is York Region H.O.G.net. And they'll tell them everything they need to know, when our rides are, when our meetings are. We welcome guests to come out. That people may not join right away. Well, come on out to a meeting.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. It's been a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you, Tonya, for having me, and enjoy your summer. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the road soon.
Thank you.